Yes.
Good afternoon, Dr. Schirmer. And as you have read my email, I'm Jun-sang Lee, a PhD student at the Institute of Korean Studies at Freie Universität of Berlin. So first of all, it's a great pleasure to finally meet you, and thank you very much for taking the time to join this interview today. Before we begin, I'd like to address a few administrative matters briefly. This interview is part of a research project organized by the Korean European Center at Freie Universität of Berlin, funded by Korea Development Institute, KDI, in South Korea. And as part of this project, we are conducting a series of expert interviews with scholars across Europe. The interview will be recorded, and of course, with your permission, it may be shared on our center's official YouTube channel later. And now I briefly introduce the background of our research. Over the past few years, our team has conducted quantitative studies on how Korea is perceived across the European countries. However, this year, we decided to shift toward a qualitative approach, focusing on in-depth interviews with leading experts in this matter. And we wanted to go beyond the statistic trend to better understand the narrative, experience, and meanings that shape how Korea is represented and understood in various cultural, political contexts. Our current theme focuses on public perceptions on Korea in Europe, especially how these perceptions have evolved over the time in relation to Korea's cultural presence and political development and academic representation. In this sense, we are truly honored to speak with you, Dr. Schirmer, today as an expert in South Korea and as someone who had the privilege to contribute to our earlier quantitative research. So your perspective is extremely valuable to us. So first of all, could you tell us a little bit about how you first became interested in studying Korea? What initially brought to the Korean studies or Korea-related studies?
Okay, well, I will try to put this short. I was enrolled at the University of Vienna in German philology and philosophy, and I had a colleague from Korea, from South Korea, who later on became a professor at Wede, the Hanguk University of Foreign Studies. But in those days, we were in the same PhD seminar, or first MA seminar, actually. And naturally, I mean, as a Korean, of course, preparing for his presentations and reports, he would be grateful to get assistance and help. And I was, as a nice person that I am, I think I helped, and I got rewarded very generously by being invited to his house. And he was married. His wife, who worked in the Korean embassy, was a great cook. And I started to enjoy Korean food. And I really got kind of addicted. And and there was really a table for a king prepared always for me when I had helped him, and that's how it started. And that was in 19, and I mean, that was the reason why I started to learn Korean, actually.
So your personal relationship with your colleague just got you into the Korea and Korean studies as well. Then, like 1990s, early 1990s.
Early 1990s, and ultimately, I think that was the reason why I went to a class, to a Korean for beginners class at the University of Vienna, and we were 9 people. Very soon, I ended up being the only one in class, and that was the reason why I also could not stop, because otherwise the class would have been cancelled. Well, in those days, Korean studies were part of the Japanese studies department, department for Japanese studies was quite an appendix. And there were actually many people teaching. So there was this beginners course, but there were other courses on Korean culture and history, etc. And yeah, ultimately, well, I got involved there at the department, and yeah, I participated in publishing translations. I ultimately became responsible for the library.
Especially, I remember also
Yeah.
You finally go to the also Korea. Like, when was the time when you visit Korea, and what kind of funding did you get?
Yeah, so after 2 years of learning Korean, I finally, maybe otherwise I would have given up, but I finally got a nice stipend to go to, nice invitation to go to Korea in 1995. Study tour program by the Foundation. I think it was meant for, it was for 6 weeks with language teaching at the Wede and Hanguk University of Foreign Studies, and I spent there some extra weeks, the whole summer, in this Hasuk chip together with 2 Mongolian girls and 1 German, and yeah, it was quite like the reason why I went on. I think also contacts. You know, those days were the early days of the internet, and I started to exchange mails with the Mongolians in Korean, and yeah. And later on, you know, I, of course, spent many summers in Korea. I had Korean friends in Vienna. I had many, I was actually, well, more in contact with Koreans than with Austrians in those days. Yeah, and that was the start. And
that's the start,
yeah. Please, yeah.
Yeah, and how did you get into this more developed academic field? Since you're since you're involved in South Korea, and also like a lot of personal experiences, then like academic, like you don't need to actually develop to the academia, but like you get into the also academia field. Yeah.
Yes, so you know, I was, as I said, in those days, almost the only one. I mean, then there was, well, another who did Japanese studies and was also involved in those translations, and we worked in the library. But mostly, I was responsible, and I, yeah, I think I always refused to commit because I thought I started too late. I was often approached, you know, with that question whether I would like aim to go fully into Korean studies, but well, in those days I still was writing on my I was writing my PhD thesis in German philology. And at the same time, of course, I was sitting in the Korean library and reading Korean studies books. So this was a kind of dilemma. And ultimately, you know, when I had finished my thesis and when I had had already been involved in book projects about, well, related to Korean studies, translations, I decided, or I took the last chance to go fully into Korean studies by accepting a scholarship, and I went to Korea in 2005. I was accepted at Seoul National University to, well, and in fact, I wanted to study cultural anthropology, but I was sent to the Kugokumunhak Kwa, the Department for Korean Language and Literature, and I was facing exactly the situation that I had not wanted. which was the situation that I had experienced with my Korean friend in Vienna. So, yeah. But still, I managed somehow. It was very stressful for me, those seminars, and
Yes.
I still managed to complete this this dissertation program. Yeah, and then sorry, you wanted.
No,
Maybe
no
I
problem.
heard you already. Or
No, I was just wondering, like, in these days, like, when you teach like Korean studies students, like, what sort of courses like you provided to the student?
these days.
Yeah, these days, or like in recent days, like what you have been like teaching?
Well, these days, teaching at Palacký University Olomouc in the Czech Republic, I'm teaching social reality in Korea. I mean, that's the title. And I teach cultural anthropology of Korea, and
Yeah,
I
wow, that's
teach
interesting.
Korean, an introductory class on Korean culture for third-year students. And those other classes that I teach.
Awesome. I guess it's definitely because like you are already expert and like you are even giving a lecture about culture and introductory culture courses and also maybe a bit of history. Then we can move on to the like theme of our interview.
I see.
Maybe so like we would like to much know about like public perception in Austria, like based on your long engagement with Korea related research and teaching. How would you describe the general public perception of Korea in Austria?
Okay. Well, I would say that the perception overall has changed in terms of, well, that South Korea has an identity these days. So in the 90s, many people would not be able to locate South Korea, so to say, in their mind map, or in their mind's eye, would not be able to distinguish it from Japan or China, or not know where to put it. But I think South Korea now has really an identity and has a positive image. And I think that's due to various factors. I mean, of course, it's the cars, it's the washing machines, it's the products, but it's also the success in big sports competitions, and it's of course the merit of Korean cultural policy and the success of Korean entertainment industry. And of course, that is also reflected in reporting on Korea, and continuously more reports, and of course,
Maybe like was there any particular event or moment when you notice a visible shift in how Korea is perceived in Austria? Like, can you exemplify related to any kind of maybe it can be like political development or cultural export or media representation? What would it be for you like to notably perceive this kind of shift?
Well, I think football world championship together with Japan, and I mean, Olympiad, world expositions, all these big events triggered enormous media coverage. And still, I think there have been other types of events that put Korea into the spotlight, like Gangnam Style, the song, and there were also Yeah, the Man Booker Prize for Hangang, the Nobel Prize, of course, this type of events. And at the same time, there were various political events that triggered much media coverage. And I think that this was not so always like a direct thing. So like that Austrians would all of a sudden become aware, but it was like in those cases a global thing. So Austrian journalists, of course, they look at the Guardian and what is reported there, and yeah, and of course the big press agencies, and of course that's then taken over. So I mean, it's not like such. It's not so peculiar that there is like an Austrian gaze on Korea. Or I think that would be very rare.
There must be like
Yeah.
various factors, as you say, like the politics, even culture export, and also other industries as well. But I was wondering also if you could just think of like examples you could like recently. There must be like influence of Korean culture like through the media and entertainment, right? And then could you see like your students or even your environment in Austria? Could you see more people watch or like consume the Korean product or Korean produced entertainments?
Yes, I mean that's quite obvious. That Netflix played a big role in that. I'm traveling a lot around Eastern Europe, and I was like envious of Romanians who would have Korean dramas undertitled in major broadcasting channels, and that would be quite normal, but would not be like that in Austria. So we would not have Korean dramas in the major normal broadcasting, public broadcasting channels, just for the common public. That would be different. But there were more and more people who would like get addicted to Korean dramas because it just spread. So I was at one point shocked when meeting an old colleague from Japanese studies whom I always suspicioned of looking down on Koreans, and that confessed being addicted to Korean dramas and having watched like 200 Korean dramas already.
Wow.
And yeah, it would be available, when when I started to commit more and more to researching Korea in the early 2000s. I also watched like the Ihon Iyagi or Ingang Gukchang, and I tried to like take in things Korean or representations of Korean life. But it was like a very deliberate attempt. I mean, it was a little bit like, compensating that I'm not living in Korea, so I would do it that way. But somehow over the last 10 or 15 years, people here started really to take this in for entertainment, and to my students, they are actually very diverse in their preferences. So some would like specialize on like and other.
So like you mean
please, yeah.
When you start like more interest in Korea like early 2000, then you wanted to know more about like actual the daily life of Korean people. That's why you start to watch more public broadcasting TV reality shows and documentaries, and then like
Yeah.
now more Korean media influenced, variety of the Korean media influenced, and then your idea is like people are start to watch more diverse drama, maybe also films and cultural
Yes.
products through the various platforms as well.
I have these days students who would be specialized on the gag concert, and I have others who would be specialized on, crime stories that are discussed among actors. And
Mm,
so there are so many fancy formats produced by Korean broadcasting stations, and they are approachable, they are
mm,
undertitled, and so this is a big change. So they are available. They are also then discussed among.
mm,
They are discussed among Westerners. So there is already like a talk in English about
mm,
it, which
mm,
makes it more
mm, mm,
approachable. And then, of course, there is not such a strict barrier between Korean and English anymore. So it's
mm,
not like either you know Korean or not, but it's like more of not an osmosis maybe, but I mean there
mm,
is more like uh, there is more like in between. So people would like maybe watch it in Korean and
mm,
actually take out as much Korean as they can, or maybe it's just a few
mm,
phrases, but still it's
mm,
like not. I mean, they watch it with undertitles, not dubbed normally.
mm, mm.
And I
Yes.
I think this also plays a big role in the
So
flavor of it.
yeah. Also
So
probably we can say that
yeah,
some like technological development so enhance the some accessibility to Korean media and Korean drama and films. And
so,
there must be also
mm,
play a lot of important role for like big platform like Netflix and other streaming service. Then
mm.
if you are more engaged with Korean culture, and you will discover further their variety of other documentary on crime scenes and as your students, right? And it
Exactly, yeah.
means it
Mm.
gives huge image of Korea. So media and like these pop cultures start to like give a huge image of Korea and create some uh, image about Korea, like in Austrian public, I guess.
Yes, also so that people would discuss it. I mean, it's not always a cleanly Austrian public, you know. I mean,
Mm,
the public for those things is often bigger. I mean, it's
mm,
normally at least German speaking, or it can be simply an English speaking public. I mean, students these days, they
mm,
would not like uh, rely
yes, yes.
on the German translation. They would watch it with English undertitles, and they would maybe even take part in discussions about what is the best
Mm,
subtitle or the
mm,
best
mm,
translation of this sentence.
mm,
And
mm, mm, mm.
yeah, so it's often difficult to define the Austrian
Yes.
specifics there. Yeah.
Definitely, that's correct answer. I guess like yeah, like to some generation, this kind of like technology and new media, they can easily access to the some medias, even though this is very international media. Like Korea is also very minority in the public culture,
Mm.
but now it goes up to the even the mainstream, like on the Netflix channel or so algorithm, and Korean product produced medias or content are very mainstreaming night right now, and that's very interesting, which means it's very more accessible to the abroad and also overall the worldwide, I guess.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Then
yeah. Mhm.
maybe we could
Oh,
can we
now,
how can we see this daily life in your daily life in Austria? This kind of Korea's image is consumed or reinterpreted. Like, can you see some people are surprisingly, oh, they start to consume the Korea and Korean restaurant, even Korea-related products in Austria, for the general public, maybe. Like, you can name the young people, also old people, general public, maybe.
well, the infrastructure now for people interested in Korea is really enormous in Vienna. I mean, there is the Korean diaspora, but there is actually uh, so much done by various actors. I mean, we have a cultural house, we have a Kulturhaus. There is, of course, the department, but there are so many restaurants as well. There is a kind of Korea town in Vienna. You can go to Korean hairdressers, you can drink Korean bubble tea. You have a big variety, simply, and of course there are um, other aspects, like you go to a bookstore these days and you see some books translated from Korea just in the normal, just in the like mainstream on the mainstream table, which would not be the case like 10 years ago, I think. So there is more and more. I mean, Korea is making inroads more and more. I'm watching, of course, the situation of Korean literature, but I'm really often astonished these days that that I'm just standing at the table with the recent releases, and there is and there is 1, 2, 3 Korean books there that would really not be the case. So yeah, there are many other indicators. I think you have events, and you have just recently South Korean art students would have an exposition in the Museum of Applied Arts. You have, of course, all the time Korean musicians performing. Anyway, there are so many music students in Korea, and I think, of course, the Korean diaspora in Vienna, just as over the world, has, of course, is one of the major factors in how Korea is viewed abroad, and you see
So,
all
like,
these, yeah.
So it's not only about the Korea's cultural product are spreading around Europe, but your idea is that maybe there must be also the Korean immigrant in Europe. They also influence in various way, like opening the small businesses, like restaurants, also hairdressing, also including like the newly translated version of like famous books, literatures from Korea. And those are
Yeah.
the factors you can see in these days daily life in Austria. Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe if I have a
Mhm,
one,
mhm.
if I have
Please.
one other question about like this is like another position about the question about like the political event recently in Korea,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
because we experienced the the impeachment and leadership change and democratic movement is a whole process. Like since it's been just within 1 year, in your view, have these political development and events influenced how Korea is discussed in Austria, also in your academic like classroom settings as
Mhm.
well?
Yes, certainly. I think overall the coverage was very positive. I think candlelight demonstrations, impeachment movement, anti-martial law, the democratic backlash of, and the recent, political change. Yeah, I think all this was really like received very warmly by the mainstream media, and I actually browsed around just recently, and I saw actually several opinion pieces praising democracy, in the strength of democracy in Korea. And I think this has also contributed a lot to the positive image of Korea in Europe. I mean that the people seem to be politically active, and that they like care so much and take action when there is like an attempt to install some authoritarian rule, or like turning the clock back. Yeah.
So in your view, like in Austria, and the media has been catching up the issue of Korea after the martial law and impeachment and leadership change, and then they interpreted it as a positive way of like showing the democratic country in Korea as a Korea.
Yes, certainly. Also already with Park Geun-hye and her impeachment, and I think all this was covered very positively. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. That's great. Do you also like this? Have you also discussed in a classroom about these issues and those events like since last year? It's coming also like 3rd of December, and it's been almost 1 year. How has this topic been discussed? Maybe in your classroom setting
Well, of course it was
at your
discussed.
university
I mean,
courses, maybe.
when martial law was proclaimed, I was in the middle of a class, and one lazy student who was looking on her phone told us. Yeah. So, of course, those things are discussed, and I think what happened. So the democratic backlash, if we may call it like that. I think that was also very positively received in the Czech Republic, and I think students were glad at this outcome. But of course, it also like helped people. I mean, those young people understand a bit better about Korea, and so to see the specters of the past. I mean, students are often like not so much aware, or when they have a history class, they would say it was eye-opening, and they are often like blind to that. And in fact, these days we have so many retro and neutral trends in South Korea. In a way, if you look at Ojingo game, Squid Game, it's like also some retro thing in there, and I think actually that's a very good thing. So it makes people aware that South Korea is not simply a very recent, nerdy and fashionable thing, but it has some historical depth, and even in those maybe. Yeah, I mean, Koreans themselves sometimes are a little bit, seem to be a little bit ashamed of their poorer past, but I think this nostalgia phenomenon is good, and it makes, it also makes foreigners, non-Koreans, more like endeared. That'd be their good expression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mean like not only for those recent political events, you are saying that like after watching variety of like films, TV shows about Korea and history, also social political issues in about South Korea, and then like even though like the Europeans, like they start more engaged with variety, the whole print of South Korean aspect, right? That's your point as well.
So also what I'm just watching these days is the Kim Nak-soo drama.
Kim Nak-soo?
The full title is very long.
Okay, maybe I'm not well aware of the.
Anyway, anyway, I mean there are so many great great nostalgia dramas. Ungapera, and I think this is like a very peculiar, or it's really worth reflecting on that. That it actually is also also something that that foreigners can relate to a lot. I mean, it must not always be like the Korea as the, so to say, futuristic or even much more advanced country. It can be those days of a poorer past, and it can be the problem-laden, issue-driven, problematic Korea. Actually, I think foreigners are open for that. So the students, you know, one of the peculiarly, one of the most fashionable thesis themes is suicide in Korea. Students are fascinated with suicide in Korea. I mean, it's a paradox thing. And students are actually very open to deal with the problematic sides of Korea, the elderly poor, the education fever, and the downsides of and disadvantages of the education system, and so on. And
so so maybe like we have discussed a lot, and including even though the just general pop culture about Korea is influential, and like more influenced, like Western people like start to also watch more, how do I say, biography of South Korea, and then the narrative of South Korea, like even historically, also social problematically, and then we have to maybe think about the almost last part of our interview, and then how we can develop the image of South Korea in Austria. Like from your perspective, what are the main challenges or opportunities for Korea's image in Austria in the near future? How can we develop our strengths?
Well, I think South Korea made brilliant cultural policies to create soft power and so on. And I think, there are people who just have to go on and they will do the right things. But I mean, one thing that I did not like in the past was when those diplomats would lecture us about the 5,000 years of Korean history, and and you know, there was a stat of, I mean, it was already like that 30 years ago. There was a set of phrases that you really started to get fed off with, and I think, you know, it's just like with developing a course on Korean for beginners. I mean, it's nice to develop and improve that, but then you must start to develop the courses for advanced learners and for people who are proficient. And so I think these days, I mean, the communication about the strength of Korea must be more, I mean, must be more sophisticated, and Korea cannot, and Koreans, well, I think anyway they have learned this automatically. I mean, Koreans don't talk anymore in that way, and in this nationalistic and too. You know, if you smell the intention too much, I mean, it can, create some.
So maybe your point is,
yeah.
So maybe, like, as far as I understood, like, your point is that maybe nationalistic idea of like developing public perception, like artificially, it
Right.
might not working. So
Yes.
that's why there are already plenty of people in Austria who are interested in Korea. So then, if we can provide some cultural courses, or they can voluntarily involved in these kind of courses, and it will be interest will be strengthened.
Yes, and above all, there should be more diversity, or I mean, actually, that's already, I mean, that's already done. I mean, I would say Koreans have understood that very well. So there are many like niches that are now also covered, and I think Korea is a big cosmos, and I think Koreans should not like, or Korean cultural policy, they must not like just stress again and again the big points, but there should be many minor and smaller uh, artists
So,
and areas
so maybe
should be
if I ask more your
Mhm.
personal suggestion, you're very expert in South Korea. Also, like, you're also interested in niche culture of Korea. If you are diplomat in Austria, what kind of like cultural event, or what kind of like music event, or sort of book event you would like to introduce to the Austrian public?
Well, maybe I would invite Jung Tae-chun, uh, or
산울림, 산울,
or Chung Se-ik.
장사익.
Chung Se-ik maybe already came, or I would like, anyway, I would like invite people from, well, who are not that much mainstream, and I would send people to, you know, there is so much cultural variety here, and so many little festivals that are very specialized, and sending Koreans there, and you know, showing off that Korea has such a wide, broad, um, well, has such a variety of subcultures, and people being in that, in so many fields. I think that would will overall also have an impact on the wider public.
So yeah, as far as I understood, like, if we expand and also like take more variety of cultural event, like as you exemplify, like 장사익, or like more, how do I say, old culture, but still like very valid and
Yes,
valuable.
so not that museal culture. I mean, not necessarily again a kayakum concert. I mean, that's also nice, but I mean, rather, for example, someone who blends uh, blends, well, traditional culture with something, with some jazz, yeah, just for example.
Yes, yes.
Or I mean,
Yeah, I guess like this.
yeah. But I mean,
Yeah,
Korea,
I guess like this is
yeah, Korea,
very interesting question. Big suggestion. Yes, yes.
Korea is leading in so many fields as well, and that are not so like acknowledged here. You know, I mean, we don't have such an esports scene. So for us here, I mean, that's a little bit nerdy and a little bit. I mean, that's much more subculture than it would be in Korea. But also making such things known, developed is. I mean, it's then fascinating. Yeah. And
I guess like
yeah,
yeah, maybe in European context also like those people who are interested in Korea, like, except for those people, and then if we invite these kinds of your suggested artist or
mhm.
more old pop artist, then we can maybe expand the audiences as you described this.
Yes, I think it widens the picture. You know, it should not be just the most recent, current, contemporary world on the one hand, and the historical drama on the other hand. But it should be also like just the deeper, recent past. I mean, those, yeah, for example, those ballad songs, or I mean, those like 70s, 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s things that were already uh, quite well done in Korea. I mean, that's a little something to discover. And
Okay. Okay. Oh, that's very interesting. Like even maybe like I can introduce you to our student about like 70s, 80s, 90s like Korean songs, pop songs,
yes,
even like that.
yes,
There's public
with
songs.
so
Yes.
many brilliant artists.
Yes, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
Cho Young-pil and yeah.
Okay, maybe almost the time is on off. So like finally, is there anything else you wanna add up about these matters
Well,
today?
just a moment. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I mean, I think uh, I got most points across, or I hope that I wanted to make. I mean,
Yes.
maybe one that I did not stress enough is I think people who are in Korean cultural politics or doing guidelines, they should not be so much worried about self-critique of Koreans. So I mean, it's not. Uh, maybe I said it, but maybe not so explicit. So it's not bad if negative sides of Korea are shown or discussed. Actually, it's rather a good thing to like that Austrians or Europeans get aware that Koreans criticize their society, and that yeah, like dramas like Hellbound or Squid Game, or yeah, I mean, uh, yeah, there are or authors like Hwang Sok-young or yeah, Hangang. I mean, being critical of Korean society is, I mean, that's a good thing. That foreigners get aware that yeah, that Koreans are critical of themselves. It's not like you don't promote, you must not promote just a positive propagandistic image of your
So like
country, I think. Yeah.
so your last point is the public diplomacy, like perspective of public diplomacy, it's not only about like spreading the positive image of Korea, but like you can show variety of image Korea related to even like history and like bad social problems, and like to extend their understanding like the audience to understanding about whole picture of Korea.
Yes, and that there is debate and that there is self-critique. I think that's very welcome, in fact. So I think this was already like in the Minjung times. I mean, it was rather like reported how Koreans would be critical of authoritarian rule. I mean, these days there is fortunately no authoritarian rule anymore, but Koreans still are debating things and are critical of social ills, and I think there is no point in hiding the ills or the problems. Actually, it's very endearing. I say again, or I think it's yeah. I think it's very very positive if Europeans get aware that Koreans criticize themselves or their country, or that they are fighting for a better society. Sorry, I should have switched off my phone. Yeah, I hope I got this across.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Professor
Thank you.
Schirmer, and this has been a truly insightful conversation. Your perspective will be invaluable. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.